It is good to see you all again for day number 7 of the Great CICO experiment. So last night, even though we were on call with the medical examiner's office, it was a pretty good night. Just had one case, but boy, was it ever an interesting one. We had what flashed through my mind for a second, the attack of the zombies. But anyway, we got a decent amount of sleep, about 7 hours. So we're all good on that. Um, Anytime I tell a story on the cases, obviously I will leave out any names, any locations, any main details about that may invade privacy. But the basis of this case, just because it is kind of a funny story, we were out investigating the case. It was about 35-40 minutes from my place when I got the call, go out, investigate this death. We head out there. It's a trailer home, not a terrible one. We begin the investigation. Pretty simple, no signs of foul play. Start getting the paperwork done, all of that. And after that, it's time to bag up and tag up the deceased, get them loaded up onto the stretcher, loaded up into the van to transport to the medical examiner's office. That's part of my details. We do the investigation on the scene, and then we transport the body to the office so an autopsy can confirm if there are in fact any potential suspicious causes of death. So anything that you might see on like a CSI type TV show, that sort of thing. The majority of the cases that I work, I won't say the majority, but at least half of the cases I work, there are no signs of foul play, of self-harm, or of homicide or anything like that. It's just an unknown cause of death to be determined. So to be on the safe side, the medical examiner's office wants to get involved just to make sure that there is no foul play and that there isn't somebody out there who needs to be brought to justice. So anyway, everything seems pretty cut and dry. We get the body loaded into the van, and I start heading down the road, and all of a sudden I hear this rustle in the back of the van, like a little scratching rustle. So I'm like looking around. Okay. Now keep in mind I am on call at night too, so everything gets a little bit creepier at night. And I'm looking around, scratching stops. Okay, keep on driving down the driveway, and all of a sudden a hand reaches out and grabs my shoulder. And for about half of a second, all the possible scenarios and impossible scenarios run through my mind of, oh my goodness, Night of the Living Dead, Attack of the Zombies, was this guy even dead? Yes, I know he was because we investigated him for like half an hour, and he was definitely dead. And then a giant cat comes diving over my shoulder and lands on my lap as we're driving, pulling out onto the road. And oh my goodness, my heart rate was just through the roof. So as soon as I was able to process that, okay, this is just a cat, somehow, I have no idea how, got into the medical examiner van and managed to dive his way up to me. So had to stop, go back, chase the cat out of the van, and then proceed to the medical examiner's office. So definitely an interesting case. There are things that I see every day that are just, but that was definitely one of the more lighthearted stories that come with sometimes a not so lighthearted job. But anyway, if you'd like to hear more stories involving my experience as a medical examiner, investigator, please let me know in the comments section below. Definitely, again, I see and hear some crazy stuff. With that being said, you all know the routine by this point. It is day number 7, so this is officially the final day of the first week on the Great CICO experiment. So we are going to jump into the mindset portion of today's video. If you are interested in the meals and the workout, as today is a bodybuilding style workout in the gym, you can go ahead and skip to this timestamp right there. That will jump you to the muscle portion of the video. So the verse this morning that jumped out at me as I was reading my chapter, since we've been going through Proverbs, is in Proverbs 20, and it says, "The glory of young men is their strength, and the gray hair is the splendor of the old." So the reason that this verse jumped out at me was I am I would still consider myself a young man, but rather than being 18, 19, 20 when I started out my fitness journey, now at 30, I still have the strength and still continuing to build and progress in the strength, but I'm also starting to get some gray hairs. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but I have some gray hair as well. And if one thing with both this job and just life in general, and now me being at 30, is everybody's going to age. Everybody's going to grow old. Everybody has that experience and that opportunity, and it's up to you to wisely do that. So when I was 17, 18 years old, the main thing that I was interested in was just growing big and strong. Even throughout my early 20s, I was very focused on bodybuilding and building muscle. And my goal, of course, is a lot of people when they're starting out in working out, was to be a professional bodybuilder or to get on the Mr. Olympia stage, or at least to have that look. And this is not to say that there's anything wrong with that goal, but that was what I was hyper focused on, to the exclusion of a lot of other things. Back when I was first starting out and I was 18, social media was kind of just getting started. There was not nearly the amount of information on the internet that there is now, and there was much more naivety, whatever the word would be, regarding the use of performance enhancing drugs to get to that level of physique. So I went in there assuming that with just wanting it bad enough, with working hard enough, and with eating the meals that I saw that professional bodybuilders ate in the magazines, because yes, there were magazines back at the time when I was 18, 19 starting out, that I would be able to achieve that physique. Because from my experience, if I wanted something and I worked hard enough for it, I would continue to get better at it. So that was a great mindset to have going into it. And I made huge progress in my physique. I started off at about 135 pounds or so. I was skinny. And within a year, I was a fairly lean, fairly athletically shaped, 175, 180 pounds. So I put on about 50 pounds in my first year of mostly solid weight. And it was fantastic results. Of course, the years following that, I was able to continue to build muscle just at a slower rate. But I reached a point in my, I don't know, maybe 24, 25 years old, where from research and from experience and having competed for a couple years as a natural competitive bodybuilder, I realized, okay, there is another part to this equation, that being performance enhancing drugs. Now, of course, when you are younger, you feel invincible, and hey, been there, and there's still many times that I still feel invincible, even with my job dealing with death all the time. So you want to do whatever it takes to achieve your goals, and to a certain degree, it's a good mindset to have, that whatever it takes, work hard mentality. But you have to balance out that strength of the young and that ambition of the young with the gray hairs and the wisdom and the intelligent decisions of the old, if you want to live your longest, best, healthiest life. So for different people who are called to different things or who have different journeys, that might be becoming a professional bodybuilder and becoming extremely successful at it. But for the vast majority of people who go down that route, it means damaging your body and achieving nowhere near a professional bodybuilder level physique, and maybe struggling in vain for 5 or even 10 years thinking, hey, if I take more of this or if I add in this, that will be the secret element that will unlock for me that professional bodybuilder look. And it's not the case for the vast majority of people. In fact, a lot of people may look like they just barely work out and they're running a cycle close to what a professional bodybuilder would run. And there comes a certain point where you have to realize, you have to use those gray hairs that start to come in, that maybe it's not in the cards for you to become a professional bodybuilder, and maybe it's not worth it to damage your body to the degree that you could be damaging it, to take years off your life that maybe when you're 70, 80 years old and dealing with all these health complications, you'll look back and be like, man, I wish I didn't do that. And it really didn't bring you any further joy or any further success. So I reached that point. I was able to go further than a lot of people. And thankfully, I only took about 2 years where I was cycling on and off of a fairly mild cycle. I didn't want to go too extreme because in my mindset, if I was able to achieve a pro card or have a lot of success in the industry with that, then I could potentially be like, okay, it might be worth it to up the dose and then compete professionally, and then maybe up a little bit more and get to the Olympia level, and so on and so forth. Well, with that 2 years, I competed in the Arnold Classic Amateur Show, and I placed second, I believe, to the overall winner, who ended up winning his pro card in Classic Physique division. So that made me realize, just based on the level of this guy's physique, he looked phenomenal. And don't get me wrong, I did too. I realized to get to the professional level, it would be at least another year of taking some stuff. And in order to be successful at the professional level, it would probably be a couple more years after that of continuing to up the dosages of some stuff. And then if I wanted to get on the Mr. Olympia stage and potentially like be any threat to that, just with my genetics, I would have to take things to a very high level that was just not safe and not healthy. And with the job that I have, mortality and thinking about that memento mori mindset, almost like each day we're closer to the day that our last day on earth, and having a son coming into my life just made me think and realize, made those gray hairs, that wisdom of 30 start talking and be like, you know what, all those risks for a potential reward are not worth it. So how can we intelligently instead combine some of that gray splendor of the old, not going to call myself old yet, but the gray splendor of the old with the strength of the young, and get creative instead. So for the past 3 years, ever since that competition, I haven't touched anything performance enhancing drug wise. Didn't even need TRT, thankfully, for about a year after getting off that last cycle. I did have definitely crashing levels of hormones, but thankfully after that year, they were able to steadily come back up, and now I feel pretty much baseline again. I feel good, and I don't feel like I need anything at this point. But anyway, I went down a rabbit hole really fast in this one. But kind of the moral of the story is I'm going to be combining that gray splendor of the old with the strength of the young in the mindset and muscle channel that we have going on here, with experiments such as the Great CICO experiment I'm doing now. And then I have several ideas after this one as well for different things that we can do, where we can push my physique naturally in different ways, hopefully educate and entertain you guys at the same time, but do it in a safer way that is going to allow me to live a long, healthy life, that is going to honor the temple that is my body. As the Bible says, your body is God's temple. Now, I do have a lot more thoughts and things to say on the topic of performance-enhancing drug use. If you guys would like me to talk about that further in a different mindset video, kind of go more specific into that, I absolutely can do that. I don't want to have this mindset portion be too long and to be too far down the rabbit hole where we've accidentally tunneled into another rabbit hole. So that was the verse of the day. The glory of young men is their strength, and gray hair the splendor of the old. So just giving you a little bit of insight into my thoughts on that, on how combining the two, kind of when you hit 30, you start to realize, all right, I need to work together with these two, continue to build the strength of my body and allow my body to serve me well as it transitions into 30s, 40s, 50s, set myself up well for the future, body and physique wise, but also mind wise and mentally, grow and focus on achieving the wisdom, the knowledge, and the intelligent decisions and investments that should come with getting older. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and switch over to the muscle portion of the video. As always, if you do have a topic though for the mindset portion that you'd like me to talk about, please leave a comment down below. That being said, let's get on to the muscle. Meal number 1 was a delicious steak bowl. Today was the day that we worked our part-time job as a cook in the morning, so made myself a delicious rice and steak bowl with tomatoes, guac, and lettuce. Meal number 2 after a work shift was a bowl of Reese Puffs as our pre-workout meal. This was the last serving of Reese Puffs, so it's time to get a new cereal. Let me know in the comments section below what cereals I should try next. Then we walked to the gym, just about a 15-20 minute walk, nice and easy, serves as a good warm-up as well. When we got to the gym, we started off with the incline press. This was workout A on our A-B split. So I prefer to use the Smith machine with the incline press as it allows me to focus more on flexing the muscles and actually focusing on concentrating there rather than worrying about stabilizing the weight too much. So we've been doing 2 sets of 5 repetitions here, not really going to failure or anything like that, just working until this weight feels easy and light. And then we will go up and increase the weight, focusing on progressive overload. Exercise number 2 for the back, since this is a full body workout, is going to be hex bar deadlifts into a shrug, focusing on that meaty portion of the upper back and traps, as well as an explosive movement. After that, we did a side lateral circuit for shoulders. Then we moved on to triceps. We did a brutal superset of 20 repetitions of tricep extensions, superset with 20 repetitions of tricep overhead extensions. Really got a good pump and burn out of those. And then we paired that up as well with a superset for biceps and forearms of dumbbell curls and hammer curls. So it was 4 exercises back to back for the arms with no rest. We also worked calves and a little bit of legs today. Not a whole lot of fun to film that, just take up time in the video. So focused on filming the things that you guys might be more interested in. But let me know if you would be interested in more in-depth videos of the workout. For now, I just kind of want to show you guys a little bit of what I do on the bodybuilding days as we finish week 1 of this transformation. So I ended up rest pausing that set to get to 20. That was brutal. Then we walked back home as our cool down, post-workout meal, an ice cream sandwich, and a protein shake. That was the last of our ice cream sandwiches as well. So time to get a new dessert for next week. And then our final meal of the day. All right, we are about to eat the final meal of the day. We have ourselves a delicious turkey sandwich with pepper jack cheese, tomato, and spinach, and then some kettle cooked salt and vinegar flavored chips. And we also have a carrot. that's going to wrap it up for the video today. We ended the day with 1,800 calories and 129 grams of protein. So we've been consistent for this entire week. We have stayed in our goals. So our goal being under 2,000 calories and over 125 grams of protein every single day. So we are hitting that. We are getting the workouts in, and we are transforming. We are losing weight. We are losing body fat, and we'll see in a few weeks just how shredded we are and how much muscle and strength we've maintained. So week number 1 is in the books. Tomorrow we do a shopping trip, so week number 2. So I'm excited about that. Please let me know in the comments section what I should get for my meals. Remember, standard American diet. What are some of the things that are staples in your households, be it breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, snacks, whatever it is, cereal options? Please let me know, and I will add that to future shopping lists. Obviously, that might not appear right into next week, as I haven't had any comments on that yet. So I've still got to buy food. But hopefully in the next few weeks to come, I'll have some ideas from you guys that I would love to incorporate. So thank you so much for watching week 1. We are moving on to week 2. And just to let you guys know as well, at the end of this transformation, I will be creating a longer format video, kind of going over all of the highlights of the entire transformation, going from dad bod to completely ripped, peeled, shredded on the standard American diet, the great CICO experiment. Again, proving once and for all calories in versus calories out. So thank you so much for sticking around for week 1. I will see you tomorrow for day number 8, the start of week number 2.